Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Shri Radha Kalachandji ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We'll recite this together, first Sanskrit then English. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Last prayer. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. There's a variation of the English translation that one of my mentors, she says, I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master very kindly forced open my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I am eternally indebted to him, and I beg for service life after life after life. Jai. Thank you all so much for coming to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Radhakalachandji are very happy that you're here. Today we're reading from Canto 4, Chapter 6. And we're going to read through a few verses. We're reading through 33 through 53, so we have 20 verses to read today. We'll be focusing on 45, but first let's get into it. So for context, can somebody recap what we've been reading these past couple chapters? Kind of like very brief description of the pastime.
Like the whole thing? Like Daksha, Shiva?
Yeah, like a good...
Okay, I'll try.
Yeah.
So Daksha, he's this very important personality in the universe. He's called a Prajapati, so he's one of the creators of like a lot of people. And so he blasphemes Lord Shiva. And then his daughter, who's married to Lord Shiva, gives up her life, being so upset that her father's acting in this way. She doesn't want anything to do with her body because her body came from Daksha, who's so offensive to Shiva. And so then, after this happens where Sati gives up her body, Shiva's followers, Shiva's army, they come and they destroy the arena of sacrifice and they cut off Daksha's head for his offense to Sati and Shiva. And so now, Daksha, he's a son of Brahma, or I guess one of the grandsons of Brahma.
Who's the creator of the universe. Lord Brahma is the creator of the universe.
And so all the demigods are now coming to Lord Shiva, who is in Kailash. And in the last class, we heard a description of Kailash hill. So,
Sati, this wife of Lord Shiva, she was actually the favorite daughter of Daksha. But when she married Lord Shiva, her father basically disowned her. Just because, and he knows, Daksha also knows the power of Lord Shiva. Daksha's aware of this, but because of externals, he keeps his hair matted in locks, and he's covered in ash, and he hangs out with ghosts and goblins because he's the, what is the word? He oversees the mode of ignorance, so he is the abode of refuge for like all the ghosts and goblins and stuff. Based on these externals, Daksha was like, he's not good for you, but she's in love with him. Like they're eternal consorts, so she was not gonna give up her relationship with him. But he's actually a very great devotee of Krishna. Shiva's like known as the greatest devotee of Krishna, actually. So now that we have a little bit of background, we understand right now this chapter that we're in, chapter 6, is called Brahma Satisfies Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva, after Sati leaves her body in anger, she'll take a new body and she'll end up with Shiva again. It's never ending, it's eternal. But Lord Shiva is very, very angry right now. So he wants to destroy everything. So Lord Brahma is coming to pacify him because he can destroy everything. So we're going to read, we can start with text 33. Everybody can maybe read 2 verses.
Text 33. The demigod saw Lord Shiva sitting under that tree, which was competent to give perfection to the mystic yogis and deliver all people. As grave as time eternal, he appeared to have given up all anger. Lord Shiva sat there, surrounded by saintly persons like Kuvera, the master of the Yakas, and the 4 Kumaras, who were already liberated souls. Lord Shiva was grave and saintly.
The demigod saw Lord Shiva situated in his perfection as the master of the senses, knowledge, fruitive activities, and the path of achieving perfection. He was the friend of the entire world, and by virtue of his full affection for everyone, he was very auspicious. He was seated on a deerskin and was practicing all forms of austerity. Because his body was smeared with ashes, he looked like an evening cloud. On his hair was the sign of a half moon, a symbolic representation.
He was seated on a straw mattress and speaking to all present, including the great sage Narada, to whom he specifically spoke about the absolute truth. His left leg was placed on his right thigh, and his left hand was placed on his left thigh. His sitting posture is called Virasana. In his right hand he held the Rudraksha beads, and his finger was in the mode of argument.
Wow, this is such an interesting description of, we can picture Lord Shiva in our mind right now.
All the sages and demigods headed by Indra offered their respectful obeisances unto Lord Shiva with folded hands. Lord Shiva was dressed in saffron garments and absorbed in trance, thus appearing to be the foremost of all sages. Lord Shiva's lotus feet were worshipped by both the demigods and demons, but still, in spite of his exalted position, as soon as he saw that Lord Brahma was there among all the other demigods, he immediately stood up and offered him respect by bowing down and touching his lotus feet, just as Vamanadev offered his respectful obeisances to Kashyapa Muni.
All the sages who were sitting with Lord Shiva, such as Narada and others, also offered their respectful obeisances to Lord Brahma. After being so worshipped, Lord Brahma, smiling, began to speak to Lord Shiva. Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord Shiva, I know that you are the controller of entire material manifestation, the combination father and mother of the cosmic manifestation, and the supreme Brahman beyond this cosmic manifestation as well. I know you in that way. My dear Lord, you create this cosmic manifestation, maintain it, and annihilate it by expansion of your personality, exactly as a spider creates, maintains, and winds up its wave."
Text 44. My dear Lord, your Lordship has introduced the system of sacrifices through the agency of Daksha, and thus one may derive the benefits of religious activities and economic development. Under your regulative principles, the institution of the 4 Varnas and Ashramas is respected. The Brahmanas therefore vow to follow this system strictly. Text 45. O most auspicious Lord, you have ordained the heavenly planets, the spiritual Vaikuntha planets, and the impersonal Brahman sphere as the respective destination of the performers of auspicious activities. Similarly, for others who are miscreants, you have destined different kinds of hells which are horrible and ghastly. Yet sometimes it is found that their destinations are just the opposite. It is very difficult to ascertain the cause of this.
My dear Lord, devotees who have fully dedicated their lives unto your lotus feet certainly observe your presence as Paramatma in each and every being, and as such they do not differentiate between one living being and another. Such persons treat all living entities equally. They never become overwhelmed by anger like animals, who can see nothing without differentiation. Persons who observe everything with differentiation, who are simply attached to fruitive activities, who are mean-minded, who are always pained to see the flourishing condition of others, and who thus give distress to them by uttering harsh and piercing words, have already been killed by providence. Thus there is no need for them to be killed again by an exalted personality like you.
My dear Lord, in some places materialists who are already bewildered by the insurmountable illusory energy of the Supreme Godhead sometimes commit offenses. A saintly person with compassion does not take this seriously. Knowing that they commit offenses because they are overpowered by the illusory energy, he does not show his prowess to counteract them. My dear Lord, you are never bewildered by the formidable influence of the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you are omniscient and should be merciful and compassionate toward those who are bewildered by the same illusory energy and are very much attached to fruitive activities.
Text 50. My dear Lord Shiva, you are a shareholder of a portion of the sacrifice and you are the giver of the result. The bad priest did not deliver your share and therefore you destroyed everything and the sacrifice remains unfinished. Now you can do the needful and take your rightful share.
My dear Lord, by your mercy, the performer of the sacrifice, King Daksha, may get back his life. Bhaga may get back his eyes, Brigu his mustache, and Pusha his teeth. Text 52. O Lord Shiva, may the demigods and the priests whose limbs have been broken by your soldiers recover from the injuries by your grace.
Last verse.
O destroyer of the sacrifice, please take your portion of the sacrifice and let the sacrifice be completed by your grace.
Thank you. And is today Shivaratri? Does someone know? Tomorrow is Shivaratri. Yeah. This is very wonderful to be hearing and reading about Lord Shiva's pastimes right around this time. That's pretty awesome. I just wanted to explain the little bit that I know about Shiva Tattva is that he is compared, so Krishna is compared to to milk, pure milk straight from the cow. And Lord Shiva is compared to yogurt. So they're made of the same thing. Lord Shiva is actually non-different from Krishna, but in touch with material nature, just as yogurt is non-different from milk, but in touch with some culture to turn it into yogurt. So Lord Shiva is very, very special personality. He is the only person in his own category. Like, it's called Tattva. He is the only person in Shiva Tattva. Does anyone know how to explain that in a more eloquent way? Or was that okay? That was okay? Do you understand? Yeah, Lord Shiva is non-different from Krishna, but he's Krishna in touch with material energy, whereas Krishna himself is never in touch with material energy.
He's the personified glance of the Supreme Lord over the material energy.
Wow, beautiful. That's very poetic. Thank you so much. Okay, and we'll get into today's verse, which is it's not exactly gonna be about Lord Shiva, but it's gonna be hopefully satisfying to your hearts. Can we go to text 45? We're there? Okay. Tvam karmanam mangala mangalanam Tvam karmanam mangala mangalanam Kartu svalokam tanushe swaparam va Kartu Svalokam Tanushe Swaparam Va. Amangalanam Chatamishram Ulbanam. Amangalanam Chatamishram Ulbanam. Viparyaya kena tadeva kasyachit. Viparyaya kena tadeva kasyachit. Tvam karmanam mangala mangalanam. Kartu svalokam tanushe swaparam va. Amangalanam chatamishram ulbanam. Viparyaya kena tadeva kasyachit. It's so pretty, this one. Who wants to chant? Tvam karmanam mangala mangalanam. Kartu svalokam tanushe swaparam va. Amangalanam chatamishram ulbanam. Viparyaya kena tadeva kasyachit. Tvam karmanam mangala mangalanam. Kartu svalokam tanushe swaparam va. Amangalanam chatamishram ulbanam. Viparyaya kena tadeva kasyachit. Wonderful. We can recite the word for word together. Tvam, your lordship, karmanam, of the prescribed duties. Mangala, O most auspicious. Mangalanam, of the auspicious. Kartu, of the performer. Svalokam, respective higher planetary systems. Tanushe, expand. Swa, heavenly planets. Param, transcendental world. Va, or Amangalanam, of the inauspicious. Cha, and Tamishram, the name of a particular hell. Ulbanam, ghastly. Viparyaya, the opposite. Kena, why. Tateva, certainly that. Kasyachit, for someone. Translation. O most auspicious Lord, you have ordained the heavenly planets, the spiritual Vaikuntha planets, and the impersonal Brahman sphere as the respective destinations of the performers of auspicious activities. Similarly, for others who are miscreants, you have destined different kinds of hells, which are horrible and ghastly. Yet sometimes it is found that their destinations are just the opposite. It is very difficult to ascertain the cause of this. So in one of these verses, I can't remember which one, we heard that Lord Shiva is the controller of the material sphere. He's the controller of all the material world. And so this verse is saying that he has ordained these higher planets and these lower planets. It's also talking about the spiritual planets. And I think perhaps I noticed in these verses, Lord Brahma seems to be addressing Shiva with the fact in mind that he is Krishna, like non-different in a way from Krishna. Different but not different at the same time. It's inconceivable oneness and difference. Achintya bheda bheda tattva. So the way that Prabhupada takes the purport is he's talking about Krishna in the purport. So we'll go ahead and scroll down to the purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called the Supreme Will. It is by the supreme will that everything is happening. It is said, therefore, that not a blade of grass moves without the supreme will. Generally, it is prescribed that performers of pious activities are promoted to higher planetary systems, devotees are promoted to the Vaikunthas, or spiritual worlds, and impersonal speculators are promoted to the impersonal Brahman effulgence. But it sometimes so happens that a miscreant, like a Jamil, whose pastime we read in different part of Srimad Bhagavatam, is immediately promoted to the Vaikuntha Loka simply by chanting the name of Narayan, although when a Jamil uttered this vibration, he intended to call his son Narayan. Lord Narayan took it seriously and immediately gave him promotion to Vaikuntha Loka, despite his background, which was full of sinful activities. Similarly, King Daksha, who we're hearing about, was always engaged in the pious activities of performing sacrifices. Yet, simply because of creating a little misunderstanding with Lord Shiva, he was severely taken to task. The conclusion is, therefore, that the supreme will is the ultimate judgment. No one can argue upon this. A pure devotee, therefore, submits in all circumstances to the supreme will of the Lord, accepting it as all auspicious, or mangalam, as we heard several times in the verse. And then Prabhupada is quoting this verse from Bhagavad Gita 10:14-8. You can say it with me if you know it. Tate nukampam sushamikshamano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam ridvagva purbir vidadan namaste jivetayo mukti pade sadayabhag. The purport of this verse is that when a devotee is in a calamitous condition, he takes it as a benediction of the Supreme Lord and takes responsibility himself for his past misdeeds. In such a condition, he offers still more devotional service and is not disturbed. One who lives in such a disposition of mind, engaged in devotional service, is the most eligible candidate for promotion to the spiritual world. In other words, such a devotee's claim for promotion to the spiritual world is assured in all circumstances. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Wow. So there are a few points that I want to make in this class. I'm going to try to get through them a little quickly because time goes by so fast. So point number one is that we cannot judge others or situations based on externals. If we try to judge things based on externals, we'll likely be wrong because as human beings, we have a few defects, and one of them is that we have imperfect senses. I cannot perfectly, if I look at Nrsingarupa Prabhu, my mind could come up with a whole idea of what his life was like, maybe based on how he acts or how he talks, but it could be his actual life is most likely completely different from what I understand it to be. Similarly, Daksha, seeing Lord Shiva, came up with this idea that, Lord Shiva is dirty and he's in the modes and he's probably lazy and just because, he has locks in his hair and he's kind of dark and he covers himself with ashes. Little did he know that Lord Shiva is actually a completely pure devotee of Krishna. So this is one point. And in regard to our situations that we face in life, we also cannot judge those based on externals. And that's what this verse, Tatenu Kampam, this verse that we read in the purport, teaches us, is that sometimes Krishna will send things to us, send trials to us, or send difficulties to us. And we should just accept on faith that it's for our benefit. Everything is happening for us, actually, not to us. When we have this consciousness, we can actually move forward in our devotional service and make spiritual advancement. So I want to break down this verse a little bit. Will you go back down to the Tatenu Kampam verse? Actually, how would you feel? Could you be able to open it in a new tab? You can click the link. the translation. This is my favorite verse. Well, actually, that's hard to say. It's one of my favorite verses. Okay, let's read. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his own past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So I just want to go through this translation a little bit. First word that stuck out to me was earnestly, one who earnestly waits. Does anyone know what earnestly means? Earnest. Eager. Eager is a good word. Another thing that I found really cool, it means with intense conviction. I know it's going to happen. I know you'll bestow your causeless mercy upon me. It's just a matter of time. And that brings me to the next word that stands out, causeless mercy. We hear about this a lot in Krishna consciousness. Some people think that causeless mercy means I do nothing and Krishna just decides whether he's going to bestow his mercy upon me. That could happen. But we also read in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna reciprocates according to how we surrender unto him. So some people could interpret that as it's like a business deal. Okay, if I do this, Krishna will do that. The thing is, it's somewhere in the middle of those two. It's Krishna doesn't have to reciprocate, but he wants to out of the love in his heart. So this is his causeless mercy. It's not that he's expecting anything from us or he needs anything from us, but he loves us so much that if we turn to him even a little bit, he's so eager to receive us that he comes forward to us as well. The next thing that stood out to me is this person who's suffering, he's patiently suffering the reactions of his own misdeeds. So when we are convinced of Krishna's mercy, when we're convinced that everything that's happening is Krishna's mercy, and when we're convinced of the greatness of Krishna's mercy, then we have no problem suffering the reactions of our past misdeeds. We'll wait actually for his mercy, however long it takes, because we know that I don't deserve it. I deserve worse reactions actually, but he's so kind. So I wanted to share a pastime in this regard. This is a pastime from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, a pastime with Lord Chaitanya and one of his devotees named Mukunda Prabhu. I have the notes on my phone. Let's see if I can remember. I had it written down on my phone, but I think I can remember. So Lord Chaitanya, he was experiencing the 7-day ecstatic kirtan. And during this kirtan, he decided that he wanted to show his forms, his different forms as Lord Krishna, as Lord Ram, as Lord Nrsingadev. He wanted to show these forms to the different devotees. So if there was a devotee of Lord Ram there in his midst, he would reveal to this devotee that he is Lord Ram, or a devotee of Lord Nrsingadev. He would reveal his form as Lord Nrsingadev like this. And so he was showing all his devotees these wonderful forms, but he decided not to show Mukunda his supreme form, because Mukunda would come to the kirtans and associate with Lord Chaitanya and hug him, but then he would leave the kirtans and he would associate with Mayavadis. Mayavadis are people that consider Krishna's form to be Maya. So for Lord Chaitanya, it was like, you're coming and you're hanging out with me, but then you're friends with people who don't even who think that I'm just fake, who think that my entire body is just fake. So he was actually very angry about this. He said, I do not want to see Mukunda. The devotees were asking, when will you see Mukunda? He said, I never want to see Mukunda. I don't want to see him for the next 10,000 births. For the next 10,000 lifetimes, I don't want to see him. Mukunda, he was already crying. He was very, very disturbed that the Lord didn't show him his form. He wanted to commit suicide actually. And so he asked the devotees to ask the Lord. And when it came back to him that the Lord said this, I will not see you for 10,000 births, Lord Mukunda heard this and he got so excited. He got so ecstatic. 10,000 births? That's it? That's all it will take for me to see my Lord? That's nothing. Oh my gosh, that's like a snap of a finger, a blink of an eye. Like, I can wait that, for sure. I could wait 10 million births, I don't mind. And hearing about this, hearing about Mukunda's reaction, Lord Chaitanya understood and expressed, wow, through his faith in me and his faith in my words, he has just surpassed all 10,000 of his births, and he can come see me now, in this moment. But actually, by then, Mukunda was already so ecstatic that he couldn't stop saying, I will see, I will see. He was just so ecstatic. So the devotees were trying to bring him to Lord Chaitanya to see him, but Mukunda was just so like... Anyways, it's a very beautiful, beautiful story with more details than I was able to give in these couple minutes. But yeah, so this very nicely illustrates the quality of a devotee's patience. Mukunda understood when he heard, he was like, you know, he could understand that this waiting 10,000 births is nothing compared to what I, you know, have done. But only 10,000 births. And Srila Prabhupada gives us an even faster promise than that. He says, in this lifetime we can see Krishna. It's like what Sri Radha Govinda was saying in her class yesterday. Srila Prabhupada is like our transcendental lawyer. He actually, so there's quite a high bar for us to get back to the spiritual world. But Srila Prabhupada on our behalf, he understood, oh, I don't know if in Kali Yuga, these fallen souls, they might not make it. Can we please lower the bar a little bit? Just 16 rounds and following the 4 regulative principles, maybe doing some devotional service and reading some books. Can they please go back to you off of this by my desire? And Krishna agreed. So now in one life, if we chant 16 rounds daily of the Maha Mantra and follow the 4 regulative principles sincerely, we can go back to Godhead one life, and still we're impatient. I mean, I am at least. Okay, let's see. I want to try to get through the rest of my notes. Might go a little bit into the question time. So the next part that stood out to me was... while we're suffering, patiently suffering, the reactions of our own past misdeeds, we're still continuously offering our obeisances, offering ourselves to Krishna with our heart, words, and body. How do we offer obeisances to Krishna with our heart? I'll answer because we don't have time. The heart is very subtle. So how do we include the heart in our obeisances to Krishna? This is through gratitude. By being grateful for what he has already given us. This is how we are constantly offering him our obeisances, offering ourselves to Krishna at all times. Just by saying, you know, we're patiently suffering and we're earnestly waiting. We know that his mercy is coming. But while we're waiting for that mercy, that supreme mercy, let's just be grateful for all of the mercy that we have in this moment. So this is how we offer obeisances with our heart. Offering obeisances with our words, this is more simple, less subtle. We do this every day. Pretty much people that are here, we do this every day. We offer our obeisances through prayer, through kirtan, through chanting the Maha Mantra every day, through glorification of the Lord, and through glorification of the Lord's devotees. Actually, by glorifying the Lord's devotees, the Lord is even more pleased than if we were to glorify him directly. It's like if there's a parent with a child. If you say something nice to their child or about their child, it's more pleasing to the parent than if you were to compliment them. If you compliment them, they're like, okay, whatever. Like, thanks, sure. But if you compliment their child, wow, that really matters. That really means something. And so similarly, when we glorify Krishna's devotees, he really feels that. What power do we have to glorify Krishna himself anyways? I mean, I know myself, I cannot conceive of any of Krishna's glories, but in some small ways I can understand the mercy that the devotees have given me. And then the last one, this is the easiest, the most gross, to use Prabhupada's word that he uses often, Old English, I don't know, what's a synonym for gross? The most tangible, there we go. Of the 3, offering obeisances with our body, which can mean literally, physically coming into the temple, bowing down before the deities, bowing down before the devotees, or offering service in the temple, sweeping, or things like that, cutting vegetables. Just very simple things. So these 3 ways, if we just continue, even while we're facing trials and tribulations and suffering, we continue to have gratitude, praise the Lord and his devotees, and do some service, offer our obeisances, then what? We are eligible for liberation. Actually, it's his rightful claim. In the Sanskrit, the words used are daya bhak, which I've been told means it's his inheritance. It becomes his inheritance. When we do these things, it becomes our inheritance. When we stay alive, like if you have a father who's very rich, and maybe one day he'll leave his body, all you have to do to receive that inheritance is stay alive. So all we have to do to receive this inheritance of liberation, of devotional service to the Lord, is stay alive in Krishna consciousness. Now, along with these 3 things, offering obeisances with our heart, words, and body, how do we stay alive in Krishna consciousness? By trusting him and by having faith that what he is doing for us is good all the time. There's a saying amongst Christians. It's always like a back and forth thing. It's like, God is good all the time. And then they respond, all the time, God is good. So this is a very well-known, everything that the Lord does is for the good of everyone involved. So sometimes we can't often understand exactly what he's doing in every moment. But by that faith will help us to continuously offer our obeisances in our heart, words, and body. And by that faith, we can inherit this bhakti, this liberation. We can come closer to the Lord. Yeah. I do have one meditation that I'd like to share, but I want to see if there's any questions first, but then maybe near the end I'll share this meditation that we can take home with us. Any questions or comments? Just do
Your class, it reminded me of this little cute little story I heard. There was once a minister and his best friend, and they used to go out hunting together all the time. And then somehow or other, wait, I need to remember it. Huh? Yeah, his finger got cut off or something like that. And then the friend was like, Krishna is all good. God is all good. He's like, how could you say that? What's wrong with you? He throws his best friend in the prison. Mm-hmm. And so then the next day he's back out hunting, and these Kali worshippers show up, and they all tie him up, and they're like, okay, we're going to sacrifice him. And they're like, wait, he's missing his finger. We can't sacrifice him.
Wow.
And then they let him go. So then he goes back to his best friend in prison. He's like, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I locked you up. But answer me this. If Krishna's all good, why did he lock you up? And then his friend is like, because if I went hunting with you that day, they would have sacrificed me.
That's so awesome. Yeah, there's so many, Krishna knows what he's doing. We just need to trust him sometimes. Yeah, all the time. Nandabraj and then Manjri Gopika.
Amazing class, Prema. Thank you so much. I'm having trouble in understanding this. It says, your causes mercy upon you while patiently suffering, all while being patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering. So I have a tough time with this because it sounds like Krishna is saying that we're being suffering for things we did in our past. And I was thinking, as a father, we don't teach our children, I don't feel like we teach our children that, you did this thing in the past, so therefore I'm going to punish you. However, there is some things that you do to correct a person's attitude, right, or their situation, because you want to help them. So I have a tough time trying to understand this, that we're suffering for past misdeeds, but yet I know that Krishna's helping me with my different situations to understand how to better be a devotee, but I don't see how it's a suffering from my past misdeeds. Can you help me?
Well, if we did our past, there's karma, right? We do something bad, we have to experience the same thing. And we understand that as devotees, we don't exactly suffer karma, but Krishna will still use our karma to teach us lessons. So we still have to learn. So a punishment is meant to teach us something. And it sounds like past misdeeds, like, oh my God, Krishna, that happened so long ago. But in the span of eternity, it didn't really happen very long ago. It's like we still have the desire to sin within our hearts. So it needs to be corrected. And the suffering that we experience here is not, it feels really awful while we're going through it. But when we wake up back in the spiritual world, we'll understand that it was nothing. This was nothing. And not even just wake back up in the spiritual world, but if we can have this consciousness in this life, then we'll understand that the suffering I'm experiencing is nothing. This is such a small token of a price to pay for me to learn my lessons so that I can get back to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I really like this point of that, we sit, 20 years ago I did this, and what? 20 years after eternity is like yesterday.
It's like, you just did it.
That was a really
and you didn't learn your lesson yet, so which means that it's recent still. You still have to learn. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course. Any other? Yeah, Manjari Gopika.
Hey Krishna.
Haribol.
I love your classes, so thank you. But listening to that verse, Tatenu Kampam, and then your class, it reminded me of a quote from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that I read, almost 10 years ago, and I think about it all the time still. He wrote it in an article of his magazine, The Harmonist, in about, I think, like the 1920s. But it was a question and answer session. Anyway, and the question that was submitted was, is God, who is all-powerful, is he truly all good? Is everything that he does purely good? And this was his answer. Everything that the most benevolent Supreme Lord does is solely an expression of his mercy. He is all auspicious. So there is no scope for inauspiciousness in the arrangements he makes. Whatever he does and whenever he does it, it is solely for absolute good. All those conditioned souls who consider that apparent impediments to their happiness are harmful or the cruelty of the Supreme Lord see only the first move in the chess game. They are unable to foresee what lies beyond the fourth or the fifth move.
Oh, wow. Haribol. Thank you so much. That was, completely relevant, and thank you. Thank you. Any final comments, or should I continue on to the meditation? And then maybe if there's time after the meditation, we can also share reflections on that. I think I'll go ahead with that. So, okay, this meditation, this is very dear to me. This is something that I use to help me do what this verse is saying, basically, to help me trust Krishna. And I wanted to share it because yesterday I was talking to a friend and it came up and I remembered it after a long time of not remembering it. And it's just something that I always can turn back to. It just kind of came to me like a while ago. I don't know if I got it from somewhere or anyways. So a little background information about this meditation, that it's a meditation on the heart chakra. I'm visualizing the heart to be like a lotus flower. A lotus flower can be closed or open. Oftentimes in this material world, things hurt us. Things come into our heart and it hurts. And what do we do when things hurt our heart? We close it. We close it because we don't want anything else to come in to hurt our heart. That's not very appealing. But when we close our heart, all of the things that have already hurt us, all of the dirt in our heart, all of our anarthas, the unwanted qualities, the greed, and all of these things, they also cannot come out. If we close our heart, nothing can come in to hurt us, but all the negativity also cannot come out. And so this meditation is about first opening our heart, right? We open our heart. This makes us vulnerable. Vulnerable means that we could be subject to experiencing a lot of pain. I think this age, we're a little scared of pain. We're a little scared to truly feel. If we don't allow ourselves to truly feel pain, then it's going to be very difficult to truly feel love, to truly feel happiness. And so for that reason, we want to open our heart. But how do we stop it from closing every time something painful comes in again? Because there's the fear there. Oh my God, if I open my heart, then just something's going to come in and hurt it. Why would I do that? So what we have to do is we have to establish Krishna. We have to place Krishna on the lotus of our heart and allow him to be like the gatekeeper of our heart. So in that way, when Krishna is the gatekeeper of our heart and we put our trust into him, then we know for sure that we can keep our heart open. That does not mean that things will not hurt our heart sometimes. But what it means is that we can trust that whatever comes into our heart that might cause pain, whatever comes into our heart that might cause discomfort, was allowed to be there by Krishna, was sent there by Krishna. So whenever we experience suffering, whenever we experience pain in this material world, if we have Krishna situated in our heart, we can be 100% sure that he would not have let it in unless it was meant to serve us. I see it as like this flowing, like almost like a hook. When the pain comes in, Krishna allows it to come in. It's only for the purpose that when it comes out, it will take some of that dirt out with it. It will take some of that greed. It will take some of that pride out with it. If we close our heart, though, when that pain comes in, then the second part won't happen. The part where it takes the pride and the greed out, that part won't happen. So we just have to keep it open the whole time. While we're experiencing pain, while we're experiencing discomfort, we just have to keep our hearts open. I can experience this like in my relationships. For example, if I'm having a disagreement with somebody and they need to vent, like they need to tell me off, and there's two ways I could react. I could close my heart and get defensive and automatically like defend myself and, start an argument. Or while they're venting, while they're telling me off, it hurts. It does hurt. Of course it hurts. But I can keep my heart open. I can hear them. I can allow myself to feel the pain that needs to be felt. And I can let it take some of my pride. I can let it take some of my greed. I can let it mold my heart. And then what I found also is that when you don't defend yourself right away, oftentimes if somebody is telling you off or venting to you, they will themselves come to a point of, okay, I got that off my chest, but actually I really do understand where you're coming from. Things like that. This is just one example of how this meditation has helped me in my relationships. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you all in case maybe it could be helpful. Maybe you'll remember at some point in time and in relation to this verse. Okay. Any thoughts on that or questions or about anything else during the class?
I just wanted to say thank you for the wonderful class. The meditation going through this translation to the verse was so nice. It's just so encouraging and inspiring. And we've heard these things many times, but to hear it again and again, I think is important to be reminded of. Yeah, Krishna's there for us. We just have to continue and trust and continue the process, and it's guaranteed in that sense. So very encouraging and inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other thoughts?
Prema, thank you for the wonderful class. You're so encouraging and inspiring, as you said. Every situation, it is sanctioned by Krishna, and you explain wonderfully. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Okay, well, if there's no more questions or anything, then I guess we'll wrap up here and go have some breakfast. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.